Did you really think that it was Papisaki, the one who invented Dark Souls? He wasn't, of course not. Dark Souls is just basically a big, huge Berserk. Did you really think that Berserk was influenced by dark fantasy and medieval times? Of course not! Medieval times and dark fantasy were inspired by Berserk long before they even existed. And since we are a bunch of Weevo nerds, we like to escape our sad realities with our crappy day jobs to just cosplay as that one dude with that big huge ass sword because it's just so freaking cool. And developers, they know that we are a bunch of nerds. They know that we are a bunch of Weevo nerds, so they make it easier for us. They give us this beautiful armor that you are seeing right here, so that we can cosplay as that one big ass sword wielding dude that kills demons in one of the most fantastic dark fantasy sceneries that we have ever seen. That said, let's just build the Gats or Gatsu. And since we have already covered the agility, the dexterity, strength, and the rest of the different builds that we have in this game, we're only missing on quality. I was thinking originally on making this guy as a strength character, but since we are going to get the armor from that very one specific boss, might as well use the weapon of the boss, although this doesn't look that much as like the Dragon Slayer. It anyway is still a big huge ass sword that is going to be amazing for quality. Now let's talk about the class that we are going to be using. Remember, like always, the class is not going to determine what is it that you are going to be at the end of the day in this kind of games, because the class is just how you're going to begin the game. If you have already a pre-established character and you want to use a chrysalis, then be my guest. That is something that you can most certainly possibly do. But there are some pre-established classes that are going to be somewhat a little bit better than the rest of them, as because they are pre-established as quality builds. That said, if you want to use the Dark Crusader, then you just have to pump up a little bit more points into agilities right here. If you want to be using the Odranger Werewolf, then you only need to increase your agility again a little bit. The ideal classes for a quality build and for this specific build, if you want to min-max that much more, is going to be the Partisan. The Partisan is going to have like nothing Radiance, nothing Inferno. We're not going to do anything with those points, and you already have some amazing points allocation right here when it comes to the actual stats that we are going to use, like strength, agility, endurance, and vitality, which ideally those are the only stats that we are going to be using. The same thing applies right here for the monstered infantry. As you can see, it doesn't have any radiance, it doesn't have any inferno, so we're not going to be using those stats, but we are going to be using strength, agility, endurance, vitality, and things like that, what have you. So these two guys right here, they are the ideal classes that you would want to have if you're going to build this character. So, that said, let's talk about the stats. Remember that I'm going to guide you through every single stat that you are going to need for this character. Early game, mid game, and end game. Let's begin with the template on itself for the end game character. You're going to need strength and agility 50 and 50. Remember that quality builds they can stretch a little bit more points into different things because of the scaling that we have in the weapon. For this specific weapon that we're going to have V scaling on strength and V scaling on dexterity. So that's nice. I like that. Remember that we have a soft cap between 40 and 50. So if you want to be like a level endgame 110, you do not want to farm that much. Ideally, at the end of the game, by planning your endgame builds, you are going to be 110. That said, that being the case, you can most certainly place 40 points into strength and 40 points into agility. That is going to downgrade you all the way to 110. If you want to farm a little bit more, you can place those points to 50 and 50. If you want to go beyond that, this is something that you would do if you start New Game Plus, because at this point it's going to be very difficult for you to level up through natural progression on the main playthrough that you are going to have. 75 and 75. that is the hard cap. Remember that we have a hard cap at 75 where you get like basically nothing in return for the damage that you are going to invest after that. And then we have the final cap at 99 where we stop just getting any damage. So if you want to make this a New Game Plus builds, this is actually quite ideal because your damage is going to increase quite a lot if you place 75 points into strength and 75 points into agility. But this is going to be the endgame template. As for endurance, it is not necessary, it's not mandatory to have it like I have it right here on 24 endurance. As a matter of fact, 20 is just going to be more than enough. I just had those bad points right there and I just simply place them in there. It's really not that necessary. Vitality, we have the soft cap in 40 and then we have a hard cap in 60 and then we have the final cap in 99. So 40 is just more than enough for your first regular playthrough. Let's talk about early game. Early game, you're going to want to have 18 strength, 18 agility, 15 endurance, 15 vitality. Mid game, you want to have 25 strength, 25 agility, or if you're feeling a little bit sparky, spicy in here, you can sprinkle some points to get it 30 strength and 30 agility. At this point, mid game, you should already have your endurance on 20 and your vitality should be either 25 or 30. At that point, you can now start planning how your character is going to look like once you decide on which things that you want to focus on first. So for the end game, once you already have the mid game established stats, then you can start placing your points into vitality to reach the end game stat, which is going to be 40, or you can start allocating your points into strength and agility to get the 50-50 that we are looking right here. It's going to be up to your personal preference, but that is going to be the character progression. And then we have the weapon. The weapon is going to be the Harrower's Devla Sword plus 5. This is a boss weapon, and you get this weapon from the Depths boss fight, so you do have to, it is like kind of a optional area. I believe that there is no beacon there, so you do have to look for the boss fights. Luckily enough, it's really not that far away from the mid game, so this build is going to be already established by mid game. The weapon has a beautiful strength and agility scaling B+ in both of them, and if you have the stat allocation that I just told you previously, you're going to have a beautiful, amazing, filthy and disgusting attack power of 806. And remember that this is not your cap, actually, this is not your hard cap. We are soft capping our damage right here, but if you want to invest, you still have like 50 points more worth of damage that is naturally going to increase you like 100 points damage more, and that's being generous. So yeah, this could potentially reach much more damage if you're going to New Game Plus with this kind of setup. For the ranged weapon, we are still going to be using Harrower's Devla's crossbow. This has higher scaling and agility than strength, but it also has scaling and strength. And if you're going to be using the explosive bolts, which is something that Guts actually does have, he uses at some point he uses crossbow, at some point he uses a cannon. So I think that this is just ideal and it fits the playstyle and the cosplay build and everything about that. So that's actually quite amazing. I like that. So we're going to be using the explosive bolts, and they are going to have a total of attack power of 1000. That's nice. If you want to be using something different like the Wither Bolts are going to have 1.1k damage. The Cinder Bolts, they are going to have 1k damage because of your high amazing scaling that you have on your weapon. There's not much to say about the armor. You're going to be using Gatsu's armor, which is Berserk's armor, which is Harrow's armor right here. I do advise for you to change the tinct to make it look darker, and the Harbinger tinct, it's actually not that difficult to find. As for the amulets, we're going to be using the Warrior's Claw to increase our physical damage and physical defense. The Mine Owner's Ring, like always, because it's just a basic thing. I like to use the Ring of Bones in here just to have a little bit more versatility if I want to be using a shield, because as a matter of fact, I know that Gatsu doesn't uses a shield. But in this case scenario, I do want to use a shield, because with a shield, well, I do not have it properly socketed right here. Allow me just 1 second. If we have a shield, we can slot sockets in here to increase our poise, to increase our physical defense, and also to increase our stamina regeneration right here. So that is not cosplay friendly. You do not have to do it. If you're not going to be using this, then you might as well just discard the shield and change the Ring of Bones for something that is going to give you physical damage while you are two-handing weapons or things like that. But that's just the setup and versatility that I like to have. For the sockets on our weapon, we're going to increase the physical damage. We're going to be using 2 Ixons and 1 Velox. The Velox is going to increase the agility scaling. There really is nothing that good. At least I do not have anything that I'd say that it's ideal, something that is very powerful that we can be using right here. The physical damage, instead of using the strength scaling one, at this point, for this specific setup, we don't really have that much strength. Our strength is sitting on 50. So if we would have 75 strength, we might as well be using instead the, let me see, the active, which it would be increasing our strength scaling. At this point, we don't have that much strength to compete with Ixon. Ixon is just going to give us more raw damage right now. I have tested several different gems. This is the best, most powerful outcome. If you are going to be investing more points into strength, then you can most certainly use active, because you're going to get those extra 25 points into strength that is going to increase your damage that much more. Since we don't, because we are a quality build and we don't have the hard cap on our strength, we haven't maxed out strength, and at this point this is the end game. You wouldn't be able to level up that much, and as a matter of fact, this is stretching it way too much. If you want to not level up or not farm as much as I did, your strength would be sitting like in 40. So yeah, there's that. We're going to be using Ixon, but trust me, it's just more than enough. It increases the damage quite a lot. And just like that, you have a very, very powerful Gatsu, a very, very powerful Guts that is going to have lots and lots and lots of tools, lots of damage, explosive damage, your range weapon, your big huge ass weapon. You have lots of posture damage. One thing that I forgot to mention, that I didn't mention while I was talking about the weapon, is that it has 200 frostbite build-up. Ideally, the enemy is not going to survive that much, and this is something that I do like how they have balance in this game. The build-up is just so high that the weapon doesn't need to be fast, because the build-up is going to be working right there wonders in one single hit because of how much it builds with 200. The fast attacking weapons usually have like 60 to 80, and they require quite a lot of hits for you to inflict the status ailments onto the enemy. This guy is going to require like 2 or 3 hits to inflict the status ailments of the enemy because of the high build-up on 200 frostbite that it has. So being a 200 big huge weapon, it deals amazing posture damage, and if you sum up that posture damage with that frostbite posture damage, it's just a perfect combination. So it's actually very, very well-rounded builds. If you like the content, a like and a is super appreciated. No one told you today that you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful, beautiful person. I will be seeing you goddamn gorgeous, beautiful people in the next one. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.